I'm surrounded by people who are victims of your gaming platform. But no, I say it with a lot of pride that I got the time to speak to you and I can quiz you more about this addictive platform. The last 5 years, ladies and gentlemen, have changed the face of technology, and that too with the speed of evolution, with the speed with which the technology is coming and evolving. What were mere topics in research papers is now a stark changing reality for us every single day. And technology is changing in such a manner that we go to sleep at night and we wake up and suddenly it has evolved in such a way that it changes the way we work, the way we view life, and also the way we work. But interestingly, the inflection point has not just arrived for certain technologies that we will be discussing with Tridib, also for the gaming industry. And Games 24/7, an online gaming company, is standing at the crossroads of gaming, entertainment, and innovation, and is well placed in the middle of it. The journey has been incredible, to say the least. Began in 2006, popular games like Rummy Circle and My 11 Circle, to a unicorn now, and now a company at the forefront of innovation in gaming. And innovation, as the folks in this room know better than anyone else, requires great vision. And AI and ML is central to this technology vision. Tridib Mukherjee, I'll give a little bit of introduction of this person sitting beside me. He is the Chief Data Officer and AI Officer who defines and drives the artificial intelligence and data science strategy at Games 24/7 across products and verticals. And I'm glad and grateful that he agreed to join me in this Fireside Chat, where we can learn more from him on bringing cutting-edge AI into several things, be it business decision, intelligence and automation, user behavior understanding, my favorite topic, hyper-personalization, and making data science business relevant. That is his favorite topic. Tridib, let's jump into the question of personalization. What is the role of AI in personalizing player experiences at Games 24/7?
Thank you, Vaishnavi. First of all, pleasure speaking with you and joining this forum. Now, coming back to personalization and what does it mean for using AI at Games 24/7, right? Before getting into that, I'll just first give a glimpse of what is our motto at Games 24/7, right? We want to provide the most enjoyable, engaging, and unique gameplay experience to our users. And personalization is a key part of it, right? So what we are very much, committed to is like to cater to what user needs, right? If the user needs certain kinds of games over other games, right? We want to learn for that. We want to understand that, right? What is the key affinity of the user, right? What do they like, what do they don't like, etc., etc. And in today's day, right, the way we look at it is that users, when they are using our platform, they are clicking each and every move in the game or like whatever they are navigating through our platform, right, they are telling a lot of things to us, right, through data, right? It's just that somebody needs to make sense of what they are trying to say. Now, of course, one can say that, why can't you analyze that, right, manually? Of course, you can do that, right? It just gets ultra complex because the data is cutting across gameplay into various game choices, into transactions, and so on and so forth, right? So I think that's where AI comes in, ML comes in, where we try to learn from their entire flow of events in the platform, understand or personify, right, of the user, and accordingly provide the most appropriate experience to the user. And that's where hyper-personalization comes in and AI comes in.
So this is where AI comes in to understand the player behavior and preferences.
Exactly. So there are two aspects to it. Actually, one is like you understand the persona of the player, so that right, whether they are liking one kind of game over the other, right? One format of the game over the other, right? If it is a fantasy sport, for example, right, the kind of contest that they are more inclined towards, what are the propensity of the users, right? If it is a certain kind of offers, right, that work well for certain users over the other users, you want to learn all of that. And so, and it's not that users are always going to like the same thing, right? It can change over time depending on how their experience is evolving, and trying to understand all of that automatically in real time is where AI comes in, because we're talking about terabytes of data that are getting analyzed across millions of users, right? And you are trying to identify or pinpoint that this is the user who needs this at this point in time. And sometimes it could be like you might want to tell users, like, don't play games at all. You were talking about, hinting about certain things, and we do that, right? We identify that, what is that point of inflection for a particular player where we say that, okay, there is no point you to continue at this point in time, right? So, which is called as responsible gaming. So we promote that as well. So all of this kind of comes together, right, for us to identify the player persona and then the action plan for the player, right? Because you need to have the proper explanation, right? Okay, this is a user who has an affinity to certain kind of contest in fantasy at certain kind of, if it is an India match, right, he's going to play certain kind of contest versus in another match he's going to play certain other kind of contest, right? So that's one thing, right? You understand that, right? But then how are you going to act on it? Right? Are you going to provide that contest that what he is liking all the time? Or you think there is something more which is appropriate for the user, but at the same time, you need to be as relevant to the user as much possible. As I said, right? We want to provide the most enjoyable and enchanting experience to our user. And that can only happen if the user gets what they want.
Okay, so you balance personalization with a broader appeal to different segments. Because cricket being the most loved sport in the country, there's also several segments on your platform itself, be it basketball or everything else. And you also take care of responsibility. How do you then keep up with the engagement?
See, I think at the end of the day, if we are trying out certain new feature, right, or you are coming up with certain new feature and offering that to the user, which has not been offered in the past, right? So you don't know because data from the past is only conditioned to the fact that what was given to the user, right, from the platform. So how do you know, right, whatever you are coming up with, whether the user is going to like it or not, right? And this is a big question, right? And there is no clear answer to this question because then how do you come up with this persona that I was talking about? Because in the past data, you do not have that. I think that's where a strong foundation of experimentation comes in, right? As I said, right, we have been promoting this concept of what we call as science of gaming. That's the ethos that we follow, right? And user centricity is a big part of it. And, when we talk about science of gaming, the first thing that comes when you say something scientific is like you have done a lot of experiments. You have had certain hypotheses that you have experimented with and you have collected the necessary information. You have seen like how something is going to work for certain users over the other, right? So we actually require a very foundational experimentation framework that can statistically, again, this is another aspect of data science and AI where we are very actively working on and we are bringing in a lot of innovation over there because it's a very dynamic environment when we talk about gaming because users are changing, right? Users' needs are changing. And so you need to have this proper experimentation framework where you are going to try out different alternatives of games or features or new formats of games or different kinds of contests in case of fantasy, etc., etc. And you want to see like how users are responding to that, right? And you want to automatically conclude without needing much manual intervention that says that, okay, this is one offer which is being liked by this kind of user at this particular point in time. And how do you do that when, things are so volatile and dynamic in nature?
Tridib, when it comes to AI algorithms and you use them to model player behavior, what are some of the challenges where you have to solve for accuracy and also be responsive to changes immediately, given the dynamic nature of your platform?
Yeah, I think, the data shifts very rapidly. It depends heavily, and as I said, right, one user might be liking one kind of thing today, might not like the same thing tomorrow because the platform itself has an outcome orientation to it, right? Which essentially means that depending on your experience, your engagement is going to be conditioned to that. So the data changes very rapidly, right? And when you talk about AI and model and accuracy, what is a model, right? There is some data which is being taken as an input, right? Think of model as a black box, whether it should not be a black box, right? And we put a lot of effort in trying to make sure it's as explainable as possible. But for the time being, let's assume that it's a black box. And the outcome of it is like some inference, right? Something that, okay, this is a user who is not going to engage, or this is a user who is going to like this kind of a game, et cetera, et cetera. Now, if this input data changes rapidly, right, this model inference is going to be changing, right? And how do you do that? How do you keep track of that? So we have put together a very robust monitoring framework into picture whenever a model is live, right? We have around 50 plus models in our platform, right, over the years. And, as I said, terabytes of data is getting into these models for millions of users, right? And all of these models are getting tracked very heavily in terms of like how the data distribution is changing, both input and the outcome of it, and whether it's making sense or not. Because the model was trained on some data, but now data might have changed and how it might have shifted. And depending on that alert, right, we go into retraining mode or various other things that we have to do. So there are 3 alternatives that we go ahead with. It's like you need to retrain the model, or you come up with a new modeling algorithm altogether. You figure out that it requires much deeper handling, or a completely different framework altogether, right? In today's world, we are also exploring things like reinforcement learning, which by definition is not like learning from the past, but keeps adapting as things move forward, right? So this is an online learning method that also we are trying out, or we are leveraging as much as possible whenever needed.
So what's the possibility of using AI to ready the data for AI?
So I think that's a very deep question, right? Because AI, ML is all about learning from past data, right? But today's day and age, you can generate possibilities, right? And which is where I think you are hinting towards. To be very honest, right, we have been utilizing the generative power of AI even before generative AI became a buzzword, right? And primarily in trying to understand, right, one of the key use cases of that is when we say that when I try to identify a user, right, who we think are potentially going a little overboard, right? So how do you do that, right? You basically create a journey of the user. You try to see what is a gold standard journey should be, and what is the expected forecasted journey of this user. Now, this is not a very generic forecasting technique, because there is certain aspect of like journey simulation is going on over here, right? And that's where the generative power comes into picture. And then you try to see that how this journey is deviant from that gold standard journey, and whether this is going into anomaly detection, anomalous journey in general, and then you try to detect that anomaly, not from the value point of view, but from the journey point of view. This is where we have definitely utilized that aspect of AI over the years, and we continue to do so.
So one of the questions before the time runs out, and I'm quite curious, because you've worked in the realm of data science as well for a long, long time. You were a scientist. And that also means that you have to communicate the data science initiatives to the board, to the business. Now, what strategies do you employ to effectively communicate these initiatives and have them align with the business goals?
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic question. I mean,
is it a tricky question?
It's not, because, but it is a very, it is a question that is a question across the board in general, which means that it's a very prevalent question. I think the way to think about it is often in the science domain, the scientist domain, and I have been part of that, right? I am still part of it, right? What I typically see is that we are scientists, right? And then there is a business need. Somebody is going to come to me with the business need and a problem, and I'm going to solve that problem scientifically, right? So there is a, client-server model almost going on in the way things are happening, right? And that's how typically I have seen the scientist mindset works. What is required, though, however, is to break that barrier, right? That we are not different, right? We are all in the business together. So it's a two-way communication. It's not that I have been able to do it. I think it's also the other way around, where the I hate to use the term stakeholder because, that's not what we believe in, right? Because we are all partners, right? But it also, as I said, it's both ways. It's also the marketing and the product partners who need to work closely with us. And AI is not magic, right? Sometimes what happens is like you say that, okay, this is an AI that will come and give me this prediction, and using that, I'm going to do that. It's not going to work that way, right? And what I say that, okay, let's own the problem together, right? And data scientists will have certain capabilities that they will bring in, but only that capability will not solve the problem, right? So if we are predicting that, okay, somebody is not going to get engaged, I think that prediction is as useless as like not having that prediction, because with that prediction, what would somebody do, right? How would you going to increase the engagement back, right? Unless you are giving that information, right? It's very difficult. So I think we try to get to a working model where it's all together and partnership model, and that's how it works well.
This is a point to Mal. They are not stakeholders, they are partners. That's how you use it, yes. So is there a way automation has been utilized to streamline data pipelines and facilitate an easy extraction of actionable insights?
Yeah. I mean, we have very standardized pipeline, both in terms of ingestion of the data as well as when the models are going on the platform, right? When deploying the model, right? Both in a real-time mode as well as in the batch mode, right? But there is a standard platform which helps us plug in the models, but it's not like a switch on, switch off. It has been a journey. But data, we have definitely data marts internally, but also when we are bringing in models as part of the platform directly, how the data is going to get plumbed in real time, definite effort that goes on, and we have majority of it is standardized, but there are certain custom development that is required in certain cases.
Thank you, Tridib, and there we have it, making data science business relevant and how parallelly companies can navigate the crossroad between AI and innovation. Well, Games 24/7 is really going from strength to strength and establishing new realms and new milestones in the fantasy gaming. I mean, Rummy Circle is everywhere, My 11 Circle is everywhere, and I hope there will be much more advancements that we will look forward to and that will add to our entertainment as well. Thank you, Tridib, for your insights.
Thank you.
And for taking time to converse with us. And thank you, audience and the team, for facilitating this. With this, I hand it over back to Mithun.